Dumb Husky and His White Cat Shizun is a BL novel. This is an audiobook made by fans for other fans. Disclaimer. Descriptive violence and triggers for sensitive content. If you don't like it, don't listen. Thank you. Remember, subscribe and click the bell to stay updated on all the new releases. Enjoy. Chapter 42. This venerable one is a little uneasy. Chu Wanning said, if it's the real Go-Chen, why can he only use dead things but not living people? Although this man's power isn't bad, he's not on the same level as incipient God realm. It made sense. However, Amoran still had doubts. When Shizun saw this dead fox, did he know that the man was an impostor? Chu Wanning shook his head. No. Then how could you see that? Chu Wanning said, do you remember what Go-Chen asked me when he appeared? Amoran contemplated for a while and then said, he seemed to ask you about your weapon. Not bad, Chu Wanning said, I didn't hide the aura of Jinmu on my body. I could sense it with just a little bit of perception. However, as the master of 10,000 weapons, he didn't realize that I had 2 weapons of Jinjinchi, but I only had 1. I had doubts at that time, but since it was related to the sword, I couldn't say more. However, I had to pay attention to everything that followed. That's why I didn't fall into his trap. But, Amoran said, if he wasn't Go-Chen, how could he have forged Jinmu? First, Go-Chen's sword is just a rumor. No one knows why there are so many weapons in this lake. So, Jinmu might not have been created by Go-Chen. Second, this person only took the weapons from Jinmu's warehouse for you to choose from. No one knows whether those weapons are his or not. Moreover, I have just carefully examined the 2 weapons of Shuemeng and Shimei. They are both forgeries. Amoran was shocked when he heard this. Seashell goods. Yes. Amoran was stunned for a while before he remembered himself. Then what the hell? Chu Wanning said, what the hell is true? But his goal is not just to give you the weapons. Then what is he trying to do? Amoran said. He glanced at the strange fox corpse lying on the stone bed in disgust. First, he spent a lot of effort to lock us in a secret room. Then, he got this thing to make us sick. What is he trying to do? Chu Wanning said, you. Just now, you were only half right. That Go-Chen, he spent a lot of effort to lock us up. What he wanted in the end was you. What is he trying to do with me? Amoran laughed dryly. I am just an idiot. Chu Wanning said, I have never seen an idiot who could form a spirit cultivator within a year. Amoran was about to continue when he seemed to have realized something and was suddenly stunned. Is Chu Wanning praising him? This realization made his heart beat faster. He opened his eyes wide and stared at Chu Wanning. After a while, he slowly blinked his eyes. His thick skin, which had always been showing off, was now blushing slightly. Chu Wanning did not look at him. Instead, he muttered to himself, also, Tianwen and Guiwen seem to have some connection with the willow tree in the heavenly court. I once read in an ancient book that when Go-Chen descended to the mortal world, he brought 3 sections of willow branches from the heavenly court. But the ancient book was badly damaged. What did Go-Chen do with the 3 sections of the divine willow? I have never known. He paused and continued, but if the rumors are true, it seems that Tianwen, Guiwen, and the old tree in the heavenly court are the 3 sections of willow branches. 2 sections became Jinmu, 1 section was cut into the bottom of the Golden Lake, and became a powerful guard for Go-Chen's arsenal. Amoran said, but what does this have to do with me? Chu Wanning shook his head. How can it have nothing to do with me? You were the one who awakened Gui Wen. Amoran sighed. I knew it, it was really Gui Wen. I guessed that his final request had something to do with the willow tree in the heavenly court. But from what I know now, I can only guess this far. I can't think of anything else for the time being. Even though most of these were Chu Wanning's guesses, Amoran felt that Chu Wanning was smart enough to have such thoughts, so he was most likely right. As he pondered this, he quickly moved through the dark underwater secret passage. After passing through the tunnel with many twists and turns, they finally arrived at the exit. They took advantage of the moment when the patrolling dragonmen were caught off guard and escaped. The entrance to the underground chamber was located in the courtyard where the giant willow was planted. The moment they came out, the scene in front of them shocked Amoran. There were 4 coffins in front of the giant willow. One of them was empty, while Chu Wanning, Shimei, and Xuemeng were lying in the other 3 coffins. Amoran's face turned pale. What's going on? Chu Wanning said, this is the coffin for offering corpses. Look at the edge of the coffin, there is a vine attached to it, and the other end is connected to the giant willow. The fake Gochen only needs you. After he drugged us, he had the dragonman bring you to the secret chamber, and he placed the 3 of us in this kind of coffin. Through the coffin for offering corpses, he can transfer the spiritual cultivation of the person in the coffin to the giant willow. It's like sucking blood. Seeing Amoran's unsightly expression, Chu Wanning said, don't worry, Shimei and Xuemeng are not injured. At that time, I pretended to be unconscious, waiting for an opportunity to get rid of the 3 dragonmen guarding the coffin. The 3 people you see now are actually the corpses of those demons. He spoke in a few simple words, but Amoran couldn't help but lift his eyelashes and sneak a glance at him. How deep was the cultivation of the dragonman in the golden pool? Chu Wanning's so-called waiting for an opportunity to get rid of the dragonman meant that he had to finish off all 3 of them in one strike. Just how good was this person's skill? It had been too many years since he had a good fight with Chu Wanning, so much so that when Amoran heard these words, he was momentarily dazed. It was as if a flash had flashed before his eyes in the wind, frost, and snow of his past life, that world-shaking figure. His face was slightly slanted, and his eyes were as bright as the stars. Chu Wanning saw that he was lost in thought, so he asked, "What's wrong?" Amoran was jolted awake, and hurriedly said, "Nothing. I just find it strange how Shizun managed to turn the dragonman into such a state." Chu Wanning sneered, "It's just a diversion. Don't tell me that I don't know how to fake a meeting in the palace. Leave a fake body here to avoid being discovered by those loaches. As the saying goes, pay the other person back in his own coin." This place was dangerous, and the 2 of them could not stay for long. After a short rest, they left immediately. However, when they reached the place they had agreed upon with Xuemeng and Amoran, they saw that it was empty, and not a single person was there. Amoran's face turned pale. "Where's Shimei?" Chu Wanning's expression changed slightly, but he did not answer. Instead, he lifted his ring finger, and a layer of golden light appeared on the tip of his finger. Before going up to Dawn Reflection Peak, he had once pinned a crab apple flower on each of his 3 disciples, and it was for tracking. A moment later, Chu Wanning cursed in a low voice, and then retracted the light. Perhaps something happened here as well, probably to hide from the patrolling flood dragon people. The 2 of them had already escaped from this residence, and went towards the direction of the market. "Let's go over and take a look." The 2 of them were extremely skilled, and they quickly dodged the patrolling flood dragon people. They flew over the towering walls of the courtyard, and headed towards the market that Gochen Shanggong had brought them to during the day. There should be no day or night under the water, but Jincheng Lake was different from other places. It could sense the rising and setting of the sun and the moon. At this moment, the long night had broken, and the sun was rising from the east. Amo Ran could see from afar that the morning market of Jincheng Lake had begun, and the market was bustling with activity. He could not help but let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that Shi Mei and the others were fine, or else this place would not be so peaceful. For some reason, Chu Wanning's expression was not particularly good, but he did not speak, and instead pulled Amo Ran over without a word. "Shizun. Come here. What's wrong? Don't go far." Chu Wanning's voice seemed to be filled with self-blame, even though he was as cold as ever. "Shuemeng and Shi may have already gotten lost. I'm afraid that if I'm not careful, you will." Amo Ran saw that Chu Wanning's face was a little pale, as if he was worried about him. He was stunned for a moment, and then for some reason, his heart was moved, and he opened his mouth to comfort him. "I won't get lost. Let's go, Shizun, let's go quickly and find them." As he spoke, he walked forward, and at the same time, turned his wrist, and casually grabbed Chu Wanning's hand. Chu Wanning's fingertips seemed to tremble slightly in his palm. However, that tremble was too quick and too light. Amo Ran was worried about Shi Mei, so he did not examine it carefully, thinking that it was just his imagination. Fish blood steamed buns that just came out of the cage. Snake mold from a Shuoran snake, the best material for clothing, only 3 feet left. After selling it, you have to wait for me to mold the next time. Selling cuttlefish, this young master just spat out the ink this morning. It would be perfect to use the ink to trace it. Ah, little lady, don't go." The market was filled with the sound of people shouting, and the strange scenery was even more dazzling. Amo Ran grinned and pulled Chu Wanning to take 2 steps forward. Suddenly, he realized that something was wrong. His footsteps stopped abruptly, and his eyes widened. His blood seemed to have turned cold in an instant. Something was wrong. Something was wrong here. He looked around, and sure enough, a headless ghost was sitting in front of a stall, selling combs and powder. His long fingernails, which were dotted with bright red cardamom, was holding a horn comb and resting his bloody head on his knees. While combing his hair, he said softly, "This is a high-quality bone comb. Customer, please bring one." It was true. Sure enough, it was true. In this busy city, every person's actions, every person's words, and every person's attitude were exactly the same as when Gochen Shanggong brought them here yesterday. Amo Ran suddenly took 2 steps back and bumped into Chu Wanning. He immediately raised his head and said hoarsely, "Shizun, what is this?" Chu Wanning seemed to have expected this to happen, but when he saw it with his own eyes, his heart sank to the bottom. He grabbed Amo Ran tightly. "How could this be? What is this? Is it a mirage?" Chu Wanning shook his head, but after thinking for a moment, he suddenly said slowly, "Amo Ran, have you ever thought about it? There are many strange beasts and creatures in the Golden Pool, and some of them have seen the real Gochen Shanggong before. Then, why can't they recognize this person who is pretending to be him?" Amo Ran's face was completely drained of blood, and he was a little frightened. "Indeed, so." Chu Wanning said, "Let me ask you again, if you are the one who is pretending to be Gochen Shanggong and hides in the Golden Pool, how can you make others say what you want to say, do what you want to do, obey your orders, and act for you?" Amoran suddenly understood. The Zhenlong chessboard. When the black and white pieces fall, the world returns to its heart. No one knew the power of this forbidden technique better than him. He almost blurted out, but when he saw Chu Wanning's gaze, he immediately stopped talking. How could a 16-year-old like him be able to easily associate the three great forbidden techniques? Thus, Amoran said, "This is very difficult." "No," Chu Wanning said, "this is very simple." He paused, and then said, "As long as they are all dead, it's fine." End of the chapter. Stay tuned for more BL.